Hey, welcome to Goose Creek Fly Fishing. I'm Trent, and today we're going to tie a black stonefly. So the black stonefly, this is based off of the Kaufman Stonefly. I've made some modifications of my own on how I like to tie it. So let's go ahead and get into the tie. So for the hook, I like to use the TMC 3761 is what I like to use because it just gives a nice little arc to the body. I don't need much more than that. I don't want like an R200 where it's got a really big movement in the hook. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is, instead of starting with my thread as normal, I'm going to start with some lead, and this is lead-free wire. I think you can see it. The point 0.02. I like to measure off mine so I know all my flies. The sink rates are going to be pretty consistent. So this is actually 2 inches of that lead wire that I'm using. That's just how I tie. Other people tie in different ways. I like consistency. Next on this fly, I'm going to go ahead and start the thread a little ahead. Then we're going to jump over the lead-free wraps and wrap it here. That way it doesn't move left and right. And then I'm just going to give some wraps internally so that lead won't spin on the shank of the hook. All right, so next we're going to come forward to about right here. We find that tag into line. We clip that off. So next we're going to tie in some bead chain eyes. And these are just some black bead chain eyes. You can buy these at a fly shop, or you can go to a hardware store and buy yourself some bead chain and then cut them if you wish. Either way, I have a lot of different bead chain, and I'm just doing some some figure eights here, zeros. And we'll just go ahead and wrap underneath the bead chain on top of the shank of the hook, just to keep it there. All right, so now let's get into the tie since all the hardware has been attached now. So I'm just doing some loose wraps as I come back. And as always, I like to start my flies consistently, so that's right at the barb of the hook. So the next thing we're going to do, and this is a little different, not everybody does this when they're tying. I've just got a little bitty pinch of dubbing, and I'm going to put in a dubbing ball right here at the end. Now I've seen people do this, and they might even use a bright colored dubbing. I'm just making a little dubbing ball, that's all we're doing, right here at the edge. And the folks that do that I've seen do that they'll do that and almost make like a hot spot on their fly. But the reason I do this is because I want to have something that will keep boy, these things are just sticky, that will keep these 2 goose biots. I don't know if you can, they're black, so it's kind of hard to see black on black, but these 2 goose biots separated, you know, as I fish the fly or as the fly gets wet. So I put that little ball in there. It keeps them separated. See that? It keeps them nice and splayed out. Let's see if I've got some kind of, you can kind of see them there. So we've got that done. Now the next thing we do is I'm just going to put some thread wraps up here at this transition with the lead. Then we're going to come back to right before the tail. And the next thing I'm going to tie in, excuse me, is this is just some vinyl rib in black. This is a medium. They sell in different sizes. You know, it's sized to whatever shape of the hook you're going to be tying it on. So right now I gotta spin my bobbin counterclockwise. So you saw how it wouldn't catch while ago. Now see how it just stays nice and tight, and I can catch that thread. So that's a nice little tip technique for you when you're tying. So now I'm just gonna come forward to where I'm gonna want this ribbing, this what will end up being the abdomen of the fly, to stop. Just gonna touching wraps coming on up. So I'm actually gonna come just over the lead, and then we're just gonna call that good. Tie that off and clip it free. So at any point, if you're not happy with the way something looks, you know, these materials are all pretty durable, so you can grab them and torque them around if you need to. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to use for the wing case Swiss straw, and that's if you go to buy it, that's its name, and it's I don't know what it is. I think it's like raffia. It's can spread out pretty. You can make it pretty wide if you want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tie this in over all that lead. Now you don't have to use raffia if you have just some black feathers. You know, like we'll say turkey feathers that are dyed black, something of a substantial feather. You could use that as well. So now I'm going to dub in for the thorax, and the dubbing I'm using is it's from Hare's Ear, and it's Hare's Ear with a little bit of an Antron blend. So you might see some whites, glints every now and again. That's in the blend on purpose. It's not dirty. A little bit more. So now the next thing we do, this is how I do my wing cases with this material. I'm taking my bobbin right here, and I'm just gonna set it back where I want my wing case to go, and then I just come up, pinch wrap, tie it in. See, there's my first wing case. Now I'll just fold that back out of the way. A little more dubbing. Now I'm going to do that 3 times. The stonefly has 3 distinct segments for their wing case. I don't know that the trout actually count them, but they're there, and I think it gives a really nice effect on the fly. And besides, you got a lot of space on these hooks you need to make up if you were going to just try to do it as one big wing case. Now I know there are tyers out there that use the same goose biots, and they'll put legs in on their flies. I do not do that. I'll show you what I'm going to do for that here just before we finish. But I do not tie in those legs. If you're interested and you want to see how to tie in those legs, shoot me a message on on this tie, and I will certainly, I can do a quick video and show you how to do it. I just generally don't do that. A little bit more. Okay, so this will be our last wing case, so I'm just gonna bring my needle about half the distance of the one before it. Then I'm just gonna tie that off, bring my thread up under, and then bring that down, tie off at the head, like so. So we get this finished. I'm just gonna build up the head just a touch. So as I kind of pick out the fur on the underside, I was saying the stonefly is in most of the streams. You can probably look on your DEC website, or whatever your conservation is, and see. But most streams, I'm going to say, have them. This one here, where I live, they're about an inch long. So this fly is about an inch long. That's why I tie it the size I do. But stoneflies in this portion of their life cycle, they live for 2 years on the bottom of a stream. So I'm sure the trout, if you've got stonefly where you live, the trout have seen them, and they're worth having in your box. So like always, if you have any questions or comments, please drop them below. And thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you around the vise.